So I gotta be honest with you guys, okay? The minute I started working, the only thing I wanted to do was basically just invest. I found that so sexy to be able to put money away and have the promise to have that money make me money and eventually take care of me. Now, whenever I had to pay off debt, whether it was student loan debt or a business loan or whatever it is, I always had objections about it. I always said, why would I pay something off that cost me 4% when I could just basically be investing more money and making more money over here, and eventually this money can pay this money? And that's what we call leverage. But leverage in some way always increases your risk, because if I lost my source of income and all of a sudden I still have this debt based claiming a part of my income and I don't have it anymore, well, that kind of includes my risk because I have to pay it. I don't have the money. You have interest, you have late fees, you have a bunch of problems. Now I have investments, I have to take that money out. It's just added risk, okay? And overall, paying off debt, like in mortgage, it never feels like you're actually making progress, but it is a massive deal. In this video, I'm going to tell you exactly why you should consider not investing as aggressively as most people do in the stock market, and instead focusing on, for example, paying off your mortgage as fast as possible, because that in itself is an investment, not as far as making you more money, but as far as what it actually gets you as being a person. And again, personal finance is personal. And sometimes things might look good on paper when you say, hey, I can go 30 years paying this thing, and for example, I can go 30 years investing this much money and have this much. It sounds good on paper, but when you actually live that, it's a whole different deal, and that's what we're going to break down in this video. And as always, guys, like this video on top out. Also, subscribe and hit the bell so you get notified. So the very first thing, and it's kind of funny, is basically, yes, long-term investing makes a lot more sense than paying off, for example, cheap debt, but the real world where you exist is not, for example, just in the future, which you will be there if God allows it, but you also exist in this world right now. I remember I had this whole plan where I was going to basically just go heavy in my investments, and by the time I turned like 50 something, I was gonna have $11 million, and I was like, look at this plan. And my uncle was like, this is a great plan for an old man, but what are you gonna do right now? And that makes a lot of sense. And my point is, okay, whenever you think about investing $300 extra every single month to actually give you in 45 years at an 8% return, $1,300,000, it sounds great on paper. And whenever you think about basically putting that extra money towards your mortgage to basically pay it off decades earlier, it kind of sounds like, oh, that's not really a big deal. I could just wait on that, okay? Because the debt is cheap, you have inflation, you have this. But overall, in reality, when you think about it, 45 years of investing, 30 years of investing, and having that money accumulate and compound, it sounds amazing on paper. But put this into perspective. You know, eventually, this young guy you see here, this young black guy, is gonna look like an old black guy. Whoever you are watching this video, whether you're white or black, whatever, you're gonna be an old whatever you are, okay? I'm all inclusive, by the way, as you can see, a very modern guy. But the point is, okay, overall, a lot can happen in 30 years. A lot can happen in 5 years. My point is, you could become disabled, you can go broke, you can lose your job, you can have a family, then your family can lose stability with your home. A lot of things can happen. So when you think about just this perspective of investing, and not trying to lower your cost of living and so on, it's usually not going to be such a great idea. So that's one of the main reasons. Whenever you think about this whole long-term thing, long-term is great. Don't get me wrong, I'm the long-term guy. This is a long-term team. But overall, you also have to think about what can you do right now to give you more stability. Now, number two, guys, is basically what are the benefits of going ahead and paying off your mortgage early? First of all, if you get a mortgage and you're able to pay it off 10 years earlier or 15 years earlier than the average person, the idea is that is a massive deal. But you got to erase the idea that a home is an investment, because once you account for all the maintenance costs, all the fees, all the taxes, all the insurance, all that stuff, in reality, all you can hope for is to break even when you actually sell this thing, because that's what the math actually tells you. But overall, there are three things that a home actually grants you, and I have it written down right here, which is basically gives you protection. It grants you stability, and on top of that, it reduces your cost of living. Now, overall, picture yourself, right, where you don't have to worry about paying any more shelter costs every time you get paid per month, okay? That's a massive deal, because the average person spends 30% of their income on shelter costs, whether it's rent or whether it's a mortgage. And that grants you a massive amount of stability because your expenses are lower, which basically means you can work less. You don't need to make as much money. You could basically, if you want, you can switch jobs, you can do whatever you want. And when you own your home, it grants you a level of safety that you usually don't get from being, for example, just renting all the time and so on, okay? It's just a massive difference. So Think about owning a home not from an investment point of view, because from that point of view, it will never make logical sense to own it. But think about it, for example, from what it grants you, as far as, for example, stability, it lowers your income, and it grants you protection. Those are the main reasons to try to own your home as fast as possible. Once you have that home, what are you able to do? You're able to invest for a longer period of time, having more confidence, because you know your requirements, your income are a lot lower. Now, the third and last thing, guys, that I want to share with you guys is basically, so should you go ahead and pause your investments until you're done paying off your mortgage? The answer is obviously no. Paying off a mortgage can take you 10 years if you're pretty quick with it, or on average, it can take you 15 years if you follow the plan I'm going to lay out in just a few seconds here. But 10 years and or 15 years of investing is a very long time. So what you really want to do is you want to limit your investment. A lot of people, what they do is all the extra money they have, they put it towards their investment. So those are people that only want to worry about, for example, I want my money to make me more money. And that sounds great on paper. But when you take a look at it from, for example, from a logical point of view, it's not that smart, because it ends up hurting you in the sense of, like, if something happens in your real life, you lose your job, you have this instability that actually just it's just stupid, okay? So here's the overall idea. If you maintain your investment rate, once you're debt free, obviously, once you have a fully funded emergency account, all these things should be done first before you start investing and trying to own a home. But if you keep investing 10-20% of your income, you have the ability to have that money grow over that 10-15 year period. You don't want to lose out on all those potential gains in that time. But all your extra money that you actually have should be going towards paying off this mortgage a lot faster. Now, a lot of people focus on paying off the mortgage faster, and they don't worry about the house they actually buy. But the house you buy is the most important decision, because if you buy a home that costs 500K, it's going to take you a lot longer to pay out. But if you buy a home that costs 200K or 250K, it's going to be a lot less time, if you know what I mean. But it all is based on your budget. So a simple rule I have is, whatever the home you buy you get it on a 15-year mortgage, and it cannot be more than 30% of your monthly income net, okay? And on top of that, preferably you want to put down 20% as a down payment. So it's going to take you some time to actually save up money, or you can do 10%, okay? That's the idea. But if you picture that idea right there, if you picture that house purchase, what happens is you buy a home that's only a third of your income. You're set to pay it off in 15 years no matter what. And on top of that, okay, if you put extra money towards it, you're actually going to be able to pay it off a lot faster, a lot sooner. You're buying a home you can afford to actually own. You're not buying a home that's so expensive that you need to extend it to 30 years to be able to afford it. That's pretty crazy, right? When you think about it, right? Imagine you 30 years from now and you finally own this home. It took you 30 years to actually own it. That's like absolutely insane. And I don't like that idea at all. So the idea is, that's the reason why you should be focused on paying off your home a lot faster, because what it grants you, stability, and it also grants you protection. It also lowers your cost of living. And once you're done with that, if you want to invest more money, you can, because you're saving like 30% of what you used to spend on shelter. If you lose your job, you don't have to make that much money because your cost of living is a lot lower, right? That's a massive deal. And it was enough of a big deal for me to ignore the math and the numbers to say, this is what I want, and this is the reason that I own my own home today. Thanks for watching this video, guys. As always, comment down below home, so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video, and let me know exactly what do you think about this video, okay? Are you going to be doing both, investing and also paying off the home? That's what I recommend. Or do you think paying off your home is the only thing you should be doing? Or do you think investing is the only thing you should be doing? Comment down below, let me know. And as always, like, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified. And on top of that, up here is another video. Over here is my face, and subscribe. And as always, long-term team officially out.